understand that our individual problems were, and always will be, dependent upon the problems of the whole world.
And we're live.
And we're here.
Here we are. We are here. Oh, man.
We're about to talk about podcasts.
So this is the first time I've ever been on the podcast Discovery Show. I'm completely out of my element here. Usually I've got a script to read from.
No scripts. No scripts here.
Just
All
talking.
right.
All right, so let's do 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast about other podcasts, where each week we take a deep dive into a podcast that we've recommended the week before, and we kind of discuss it in a book club style discussion. I'm Kirk.
I'm Zach.
And we have a special guest here.
Richie from Brands and Empires.
Yeah.
From Brands and Empires. And our friend for a long time now.
Yep, it's been a minute.
12 years, 13 years now?
It's been a long time.
No, 12 years since we graduated. We're talking.
Ooh, yeah.
We're coming up on 16 years now.
You're really dating us here on this episode.
Oh, by the way, yeah. You can edit that out for the masses.
No, it's okay. I accept it. I lean into it.
Yeah, so thanks for being here, Richie. But this week we are going to be discussing the Moth Radio Hour. The episode in particular is War, Barbie Dreamhouse, Coco, and a Naked Man. And that's all the time we have, guys. It's such a long title that now we've run out.
Yeah. Outro.
I do love that they made sure to say naked, even
Naked.
in the title of it. It's not naked, it's naked.
Naked.
And I mean, they're not wrong. She does say it repeatedly, and it's naked.
So The Moth it's a show, it's kind of like a storytelling type show, but they always have storytellers tell a live story on stage, and it's really cool. It's like I said last week, it's kind of a mix between like Snap Judgment and Risk. So it's kind of
Are these two different podcasts?
yeah,
that
they're
I've
two
heard
different.
of?
We've discussed them on our show previously. They're both storytelling podcasts. One of them is very kind of salacious stories in a way. Risk.
Yeah, the point of Risk is you tell a story that you think you would never tell anyone, but you tell it to an audience and on a podcast.
It's very intriguing, but some of the stories are nuts.
I mean, it was an awesome
we saw it
thing
live
to,
in Tampa. It was really
It was amazing.
Really
Interesting.
cool. And then Snap Judgment's one of my favorite shows, and they tell long form story and they mix it with like music and stuff. They call it storytelling with a beat. That's one of my favorite shows.
It's This American Life with music.
If I could recommend that show every week, I probably would.
So is there more planning going into that second show?
Oh yeah.
So it's
yeah, 'cause
scripted.
it's
They've
not,
already got the audio.
and not all the stories are true. I mean, it may be just like a good
Okay.
storyteller telling, maybe even something they wrote,
Yeah.
as a narrative fiction. But this show is all true stories told by the person. And the first story, which was called Out on a Ledge, was by Phil Caputo. And he was a reporter and a war correspondent. And that was, I think, of all the stories in this one, I think that was my favorite one.
Yeah, I could definitely see. It was probably my favorite too. I think that they were all good and they were all different enough. It was very well curated as a group of stories. But that one, as a storyteller, he did an absolutely amazing job because I had no idea where this was going to end by where it started. Because he started essentially with just like his life trying to break into journalism and trying to understand that in that competitive world and dealing with all that.
Yeah, I loved the story about trying to get something unique about this murder that had happened in Chicago and him like scaling the fire escape to take pictures of the murder scene so that actually it wasn't pictures, it was get description of what was going on because the cops weren't letting anybody go in there. So he climbed the fire escape, wrote a bunch of stuff, called it in because this is back in the day. He like called it in on a payphone and someone else tried to do the same thing because they figured out what he did.
Yeah.
And he basically locked him in the fire escape so that he would miss his deadline.
Until the deadline ended, yeah.
It's brutal. It was a brutal world, apparently, of deadlines. But now the internet is here. And that's one thing that I definitely thought about throughout that story is...
Yes, one cell phone would have changed everything. Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be like, I'm going to call in my editor. It's like, I'm going to live stream this from my phone outside the window.
Can you believe this dude right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a different world.
Yeah.
And it's, still an amazing story what they went through to try and get that immediate news that we just take for granted now. but it is different now.
At the same time, though, the landscape certainly changed. Whereas
Oh, yeah.
they were having to do these crazy hijinks and freeze each other out until the deadline passed. Nowadays, anybody and their mom with a cell phone is posting online.
Yeah,
and
it's
everyone's
a
stealing the
reporter.
glory. Yeah, you're not hearing about it from Reuters or Associated Press. You're hearing about it on Facebook Live. Before anybody gets it.
It's really funny because as soon as any major event happens, every major publication is reaching out to people on social media.
Right.
They just see that you posted a video on Facebook. They're like, "Hey, I work for Washington Post. Can we use your video?" They don't even have to.
Yeah,
go
they're
through those
looking for
links.
interviews after the fact instead
Yeah.
of like, hey, we're on scene delivering the new news. Right.
So it's crazy to see kind of the experiences they went through during that era. And I mean, there's great movies about that time and in reporting and things like that too. It's kind of just an interesting period piece essentially when you look back on how different it was than it is now.
Journalism sounds like something, at least back in the day, that would have been really fun to be in as like a single guy.
Fun and
You know what I mean?
Fun and
Crazy.
I mean, in Phil's case, also terrifying.
Well, yeah, I mean, when he was
To be in a war zone,
correspondent,
yeah, of course.
that's a whole different story. But like when we met Cal Fussman when he was working for Esquire, he was telling us about all of these other writers and stuff that he
He worked with Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, and he would like go have beers and drinks with him after work, and it was just like all these crazy stories and how different things were then. And I don't know, journalism seems like a very interesting thing back in the day. It was almost like a Wild West, no
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, you could probably look into how the internet has impacted it now and figure out what these reporters have to do to try and beat news stories now. I don't even know how you can.
Yeah.
But what are the highest
What's
level?
the new
Yeah.
thing that they have to do
To
to
try and
freeze
be
out
better.
their competitors or to get the scoop? What's the new strategies that they have to employ?
It's probably also intense, but different. Who
Yeah.
knows? But yeah, he started out that way, and then he gets into his entire career and he was also in the military. This was something she kind of dropped at the end that he was a successful writer and had served in the military. So he was in Vietnam, and then he also released a book called A Rumor of War in 1977, and it was a bestseller. It was also turned into a TV show.
I didn't know that.
How do we never hear about this guy?
I think it's more one of those things that he was kind of on the edges because he was like a reporter. He's toured a bunch of universities and he gives speeches and things like that. He's written a lot. He's written a lot of novels. He's written a lot of memoirs. He's written a lot of nonfiction. He's just a really good writer, really good storyteller.
Super prolific.
And it all started with his memoir of what it was like to serve in Vietnam.
Interesting.
And then he gets into kind of his experience being a war correspondent, which that was something that I feel like it gets glazed over a little bit, especially because now I feel like there's less of it because of that same thing we were just talking about, where you don't have to, CNN doesn't have to send over 20 war correspondents because literally there's video coming out of these places. And
Yeah.
you can they still will, but it's generally different.
Right.
And he was in, I think he said Beirut, right?
Yeah, that's what it was. And
During
there was like
a-
some. Was it considered like a civil war basically?
Yeah, because it was
between-
infighting between religions
Yeah.
all in Beirut. So I think they
Right.
did call it a civil war. And it was just, it just kept escalating. And also, the whole story about the PLO general that kept getting interviewed, that was literally
Yes.
what was his name, Nick or Rick? Some guy named Rick that worked for another newspaper.
Yeah, so if you didn't listen to the podcast, in a nutshell, everybody's places back here, their bosses are like, hey, you've got to interview one of these leaders in these, and they're very dangerous people.
Yeah, they're not
And so-
friendly. That's the whole, everything over there is not friendly right now.
And all these war correspondents are like, I mean, do you just want to take a cyanide pill? Do you just want us to die? Like, so what they did is one of the guys posed as a PLO leader and was interviewed by like all of the different war correspondents over there. And they said that this fictitious guy was the most quoted PLO leader during
Because
the war.
nobody's quoting an actual PLO leader. And I mean, with good reason. I don't blame them at all.
No.
Like, how are you going to get an interview with somebody like that?
I do love how he was like,
Not with both hands intact at the
Yeah,
end, for sure.
no.
Yeah.
he's like, I'm glad you're laughing because this is very bad
Yeah,
journalism.
no, that's a
Oh, no.
huge no to just like it's a lie. They made up a story in a like a war torn.
Yeah, you're talking about fake news.
Yeah,
Right.
no, that's actual fake news.
And these are mainstream news places
yeah,
that are doing this,
it-
right?
like all of them. So
Right.
Yeah, I get why he was like, I'm glad you guys are laughing because I felt weird. But then he got put into a situation where he felt like he had to make amends for that. And so he went to go try and get a real story and really investigate, and he was injured.
Yeah, he
You
was,
know,
he was
attacked.
shot. Yeah.
He got messed up.
But the thing that I took from that, when it was kind of his whole thesis specifically on that part of his story, was about just kind of how what he had seen in Vietnam and then what he had seen there had kind of created this. He was desensitized to even feeling empathy for even victims. He said he talked about an example of he saw a bunch of people in line to get like food or something.
Yeah, they were going to get food.
Getting bread or
The
something
women,
like that.
yeah, that's what really stood out to me.
It was like 13 mothers who went to go get food.
And the Christians killed them, like blew them up. And his first thought was, that's
Well, they
stupid
shouldn't
for
have
them
been
to all be
stacking
together.
up like that. Easy target,
Easy
right?
target. And so he kind of spotlighted that as how callous he had become after seeing so many horrible things. And then once he was shot and he had to get surgery with no anesthesia.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, he went through something real too. And I mean, Vietnam also.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Like,
But he was talking about how, like, going through that experience, being shot himself and being a victim of, a war crime, it brought him back to feeling empathy for those that are
It
victims.
resensitized them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
brought it back to humanity. And I mean, I'll say this. We just gave our recap. Listen to him tell this story.
Oh, yeah.
He is a great storyteller. The whole time, I had no moment of this where I wasn't completely locked in and listening to him. And I can honestly say that for all of the stories on here, it really is a great experience to hear these people tell their stories. It's worth listening to them tell the stories. We're just trying to give you guys a recap because it is a great show and we had a great time listening to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was a big takeaway for me, was listening to these stories. I was just right in the middle of a work day, so I wasn't anticipating to laugh or to have a tear brought to my eye. And on each of these stories, they were great, adept at pulling out emotion. Here I am, I'm right in the middle of printing an order, and I've got a tear streaming down my face. I'm like, nobody's looking at me, right? It was one of those. It was fantastic. It was very moving.
I mean, I gotta ask which one's the moving one. Is it the next one? The one about the car accident? That one was pretty intense.
It certainly wasn't Trisha Rose Burt with her naked man.
That was just funny.
That was just funny.
Just good. And Coco the dog too. But yeah, I think it was probably this next one, and that'll just lead us right into
the accident for sure. Yeah.
The accident, and is it Ophira?
Yeah.
Ophira Eisenberg, and this one is just intense because on a lot of levels. There's a lot going on because essentially what happened is there was a major car accident with a mother, her both daughters.
It was her and her brother. It was her and her brother, and then they had
a friend.
Both of their friends. There was two kids. One died, one did not.
I thought it was the mother, the two daughters, and the girlfriend.
Oh, you're right. It may have been $2. I'm not sure.
Because it was, okay.
Yeah, well, at least the other sister was around.
Something.
I just remember whichever one was in the hatchback got out unscathed.
Yeah.
That was kind of...
But essentially, there was a horrific car accident.
Yeah.
And the mother was extremely injured. One of the daughters was extremely injured. One was, I think, mostly okay. And then one ended up, the friend, so not even one of the direct family members, ended up passing away from this car accident.
Right, and didn't wake up.
And
they were just like going to the pool.
It was nothing.
It was just like what you do in the summer.
Some non-errand,
I'm going to go hang out with my friend and we're going to go to the YMCA.
Yeah.
It was something small.
That everybody's experienced,
Such a horrible tragedy.
And Ophira was 8 years old at the time. And so then you have this layer of this is her processing what was happening as an 8-year-old girl, as a child. And you also get the layer of the mother experiencing this, which is essentially, that is a nightmare situation. Right. That is the worst thing that could happen to you is someone else's child is in your car. And I don't know. It's just, it was all terrible. But essentially the story is she was in the hospital and she had to go in for surgery and she was afraid. And her father said, hey, you're going to go to sleep for a little bit, but when you wake up, you can have whatever you want.
I'll buy you
Yeah.
anything that you want was the line.
And she settled on a Barbie dream house. And that, to me, that is just another one of those, it hits you in like the heart, because you're like, oh, it's a
kid.
child, you
Yeah.
know, it's
Yeah.
just a little girl. Like, it's just so sad. And so she did all of this, and she kept asking about her friend, and then she found out that her friend had passed away, and she couldn't process it. And then she jumps forward in time to, she kind of, where did she tell this story originally? Was it on this show?
No, she was telling the story on tour for several years
okay,
as part
that's
of
what it
her
was.
deal.
And the father ended up hearing her tell her story.
The father
The
of
father
the
of
deceased
the
child.
of the little girl that died in the car accident heard the story and emailed her. And I can't even imagine the feeling of seeing that email in your inbox.
Yeah,
Like,
how do you process that?
yeah.
That was-
Well, before that, she was snooping around as a 16-year-old in her house, and
Yeah.
she found a letter
That's right.
that was written to her mom from the dad saying, "Look, I know that this is an extremely horrible, difficult situation. I've lost my child, but I want you to know that I don't blame you, because it was a complete freak accident.
Yeah.
You know, just a young kid ran a stop sign and hit them, and so it was. I don't know. I thought about so many things about this story. Like, what if I was the dad? What if I was
the other side of
the
it.
person driving the car? Like, I put myself in every one of those positions, and no matter where I mentally put myself, it was very
It all just
difficult.
hurts.
No matter what.
I felt like there was so many layers of the onion on that one. So it starts out, she's talking about, you know, we're going to the pool, we're gonna have a good time, and then all of a sudden this happens, and she did such a good job explaining her innocence.
Yeah.
She told the story from, you know, this is all the things that are happening. They're telling me that I'm strong. Well, why am I strong? And then all of a sudden her sister's not there, and then they peel back when she's 16 the note to her mom, and all of a sudden she has a realization that her mom went through something, and how on earth did she stay so strong through all of this, and her dad was a rock through all of it. And she did a great job of just showing each person's perspective through this entire event, and then connecting with the father of the girl who got killed, and that he didn't harbor any of that hate and frustration.
Yeah, and I
It was
mean,
just-
honestly, the strength of that man to be able to work through that empathetically.
Yes.
You know, to be able to understand that this is something that she will always carry
right.
as well. You
yeah,
know?
I mean, because I kept thinking about, like, if I was the one that lost my kid and they were with someone else, there's just such a natural tendency to want to blame somebody.
Somebody's at fault. Somebody's got to pay
Yeah.
for that.
And
Yeah.
but it's also a perfect opportunity for someone's character to come out in a good way or a bad way. That's the thing. It's like, and his came out in a way of grace. You know, he understood that it was a complete accident, and you know what I mean. It's just it was just such a crazy story.
It is a wild story to kind of like process all this, because also when my truck got totaled, I literally almost T-boned a 16-year-old kid.
Oh man.
And it was completely his fault. I was driving 50 miles an hour, and he just didn't look my direction at all. He was trying to turn left, so he had to cross a lane, and he was crossing my lane, and he looked right and then just turned.
Oh boy.
And so I was driving 50 miles an hour. He pulled out directly in front of me. I still remember to this day his face as he turned and saw what was about to happen. And I like slammed on brakes, and I just like pulled the wheel as hard as it could have been really, really bad. We ended up hitting like my front right on his front left because I swerved, because like I literally was looking in this kid's eyes, going 50 miles an hour at his door. Like I would have hit this kid. And so I just swerved, just like instinct. I just tried to not hit his door. And so we hit my front right, their front left. We hit and then slammed the cars together, like sandwiched them.
Clapped instead of
And
just
then
full
clapped,
on. Yeah.
and then went across the street into the ditch.
Man.
And it was literally, I was hearing this, I was like, that could have been me. And it wouldn't have been my fault. And I would have killed a 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And so
He would
it's
have
like,
carried that no matter what.
Yeah, you
I
have a
mean,
lifetime of thinking about that, absolutely.
Even knowing it was his fault, it still would have been something that would have haunted.
yeah, no, I can still see his face even though everybody was fine. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I could still see his exact face when he saw me.
Oh yeah,
As
I've
he
been
was-
in a
as he
couple
was in the
serious
road.
car accidents, and it's wild how
Time
it happens
slows down.
instantaneously, but it's like you've got freeze frames of each individual moment of boom, boom, boom. And I mean, it's just pure instinct and reaction. And then it's done. And you're either messed up or you're not.
Yep.
You know?
It really does. And I mean, this story, it definitely shows you that, like, sometimes it's just like fate, destiny, luck, unluck, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's some element of randomness to how this all goes, because all of us have been in car accidents, and this is not our story.
Right.
But it was an incredible story to listen to, and this was one where I was like, "Oh man, I'm feeling things." I wasn't really
I wasn't prepared.
I wasn't expecting this. I didn't go into it with any expectations.
Yeah.
I just listened to it. You know, I just put it on and listened to it. But this one I was like, "Oh man, so much I'm thinking about right now."
When she brought up the kid in the back of the hatchback, it reminded me when I was like 6. There was a family that went to our church, and they were the mother and the 3 kids. She had the oldest daughter was sitting up front. The youngest daughter was still in her baby bassinet, and the son was in the back seat of it was a Dodge Caravan, and they were going to take a look at a home showing because they were planning on moving. And I mean, I'm 5 or 6. The son was my good friend. He was 6, 7. He was about 10 months older than I was, and I remember hearing about all this after the fact. But she pulled out into traffic, and it was her fault. She pulled out into traffic, wasn't paying attention. There was a guy that was drunk driving, but he was going like 70 in a 45. So she didn't gauge the distance.
speed.
He T-boned him, and the son was in the back of the van, but laying sideways like you would in the back of a hatchback.
I did it all the time.
And his brains got scrambled because, you know, this side of the car hit it. And I mean, as soon as they were saying that about the hatchback, I hadn't thought about that in 25 years. And just immediately, it was right there all of a sudden, you know, because your good friend's gone, and just all of the stuff that came out of this.
Yeah.
And then I remember, you know, the whole family was devastated. You've got these people whose lives were perfectly put together. They're always on time. They're early. And then just this serenity, this quietness that came over the whole church body.
Yeah, no,
and
and that's the thing. I feel like everybody can
wild.
relate to that sudden, terrible loss.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's one of those things that this is just another great story. Once again, go listen to her tell this story. Listen to this episode.
Yeah.
It really is a great episode.
Yeah, if you want to feel some feels, that'll definitely pull them out of you.
And all over the place. You know, it really, like, don't worry.
'Cause
you're not going to cry the
highs
whole
and
time.
lows. Yeah, I think
They
you're
were
on a good
very,
note. I think
very intentional with their placement of the story.
they built an arc. Yeah, they go from here to down to up, and then they leave you on a middle note for sure.
Yeah, so this is the moment of sadness where you need to think about life and
The low
feeling.
point of the evening.
Yeah, you need to feel things and experience things, but then it moves to something that's less experience based and more hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we actually get to thank a Florida woman for this story.
Yeah, she's from Tampa.
She
right?
was. I
down the
caught
road.
that. I was like, oh, born and raised in Tampa. Okay.
So
But
her
she
name-
moved up north. So
Yeah, and she said
disowned us.
She said she had Nashville roots, and then she moved north. I don't know what the Nashville roots meant. I don't know.
Those roots ran really deep because
Yeah.
people in Tampa don't sound like she does.
Yeah, no, she sounds
is
very
true.
southern.
That
I
is-
haven't
yes,
heard
she
a lot
does.
of people here that sound that.
You've heard of
strong.
Chandra Pierce? She's like a real southern comedian. This girl reminded me exactly of that woman.
But yeah, her entire perspective was going from a successful corporate executive and then branching out into artistry.
Yeah.
And I guess that's in a nutshell. But yeah, her once again, listen to the episode because her telling the story makes it.
Yeah, Trisha Rose Burt, and her story was called "How to Draw a Naked Man."
And
I like that. I like that.
he brought out the Florida man voice for us.
But yeah, so she was coming from, like you said, an executive background, basically, and then she was very driven. She was very data heavy in everything that she did. She had goals. She had, things like that, and she wanted to hit benchmarks. So she goes in this creative world, and they're like, "This class, there's no grades. We're not focusing on the art that you're going to make. We're focusing on the process
Yeah,
of the
I
art
think
that
that was
you'll make."
I think that was the quote. Is like, we're not concerned about the end result. We're going to teach you the art making process,
Right.
and that blew her mind.
She immediately started
I don't even think
mentally panicking.
there was any teaching. It was more just like exploring your natural roots, right? Because
Yeah.
there was no right or wrong in the whole situation.
No, there wasn't. It was more just like we're gonna make art together,
Explore it, yeah.
and that's it.
And she tells this hilarious story of, I think it was like 2 weeks into her class, they're doing this they were supposed to draw the essence of a naked man. So they had this model come in, stripped down, and he was going to pose for like 45 seconds or something like that. Was it like 45
Had to
seconds?
be longer
each
than
pose?
45 seconds.
No, it was
no.
less than a minute.
No, each pose was,
Per
yeah,
pose.
he changed.
It was an
he
hour.
changed
For
his,
an hour.
His stances, yeah.
And I loved how she's like, and I kept drawing stick figures, and I felt like a failure every 45 seconds, which is a lot.
It's 80 times.
And it was great. It's such a great story. And then she talks about like the teacher. She's like, multiple times I just wanted to cry. I just wanted to just give up and cry. But the teacher came over. She's like, "Look, you're doing great. You know, this is it. You're doing.
No, there's no
you're,
wrong either.
You're doing the process."
Yeah,
Right.
there's no wrong. So
She was
doing
like
it
talking to the
is
person
fine.
next to her, like, "What is it supposed to look like?" And they're like, "All these are gonna look
What
different."
do you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely made me think of all of us have at some point kind of dove into creative outlets.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever have this experience? Because I definitely remember that, like when I first started writing at all, you know, I was like, I just appreciated it, and I was like, I want to write like a screenplay. And then there was this moment where you sit down at your computer and you're like, now what?
Right.
Where it's like, what is this supposed to be?
Uh-huh.
Where do I start? Where do these pieces go? And I ended up getting a bunch of books and like reading through it, and then kind of like took that as notes, but didn't want to take it as gospel, if that makes sense. Where I didn't want to follow a formula. I wanted to get a general sense, like here are some things that are good practices and things like that. But then once you kind of get past that first hurdle of
Starting.
where like looking at an empty page is daunting. If you sit down to write a screenplay, looking at that page and just, okay, so what's my first line? You know, there's a lot of intimidation around starting, about diving into something. Did you guys ever have anything like that?
It was a dark and stormy night. No.
Yeah, I mean, you could go that route.
Right, yeah. No, but it just even in the art world, having a blank artboard, that is the most daunting stage of being in Photoshop or Illustrator. When you're looking at this whiteboard, you've got nothing to go on. You can't edit, tweak, add. It's just there's nothing there. Same thing. And I've started writing short stories and things like that. So I totally feel you. How do you outline this? Do I
Yeah.
start with a story, a backstory, a framework? You know, you're right. And you don't know where to go from there.
The best place to go is wherever it goes. You know, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Really, just do. And I feel like I've read a couple things where people just say, you know what, it can be terrible. Don't worry about that. Just do it.
And I've seen some published works that are truly terrible.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, well, if they can do it,
Yeah.
anything I can put on.
And honestly, it's draft. Your first one is a draft.
Yes.
You're gonna throw it out. You know, because you've been writing for Florida Man too. You know,
Yeah.
there's times where you just have to lean into. It's just a draft.
Right.
It's just start writing, and things will change, or start working on whatever your design's going to be. You know, you have to just start somewhere. You might trash the whole thing. Doesn't matter. The best way to start anything is to just start it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I think of is the mental hurdle of getting started. You always try to overanalyze. You want when you start to be good. You're like, well, I want to be the best when I start. That's just not the way it works most of the time.
No, I mean, I've probably talked about it on the show before, but that quote from Ira Glass, have you heard this?
Probably, but I don't remember it.
It's Ira Glass essentially says, paraphrased, I'll link it somewhere because it's worth listening to. Everybody who gets into an artistic outlet of any kind has better taste than they have ability when they start.
Right, absolutely.
So you have much better taste than you're able to execute on. But everyone starts there because you have to practice. These are things you develop. So you start out and you can't get discouraged by the fact that you're not writing like your favorite writer, or you're not designing like your favorite designer, or you're not doing any of these creative outlets as well as the people who inspired you to get into it.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to go through this process just as they did before you. And I'll link it. 'cause
It's easy
awesome.
to identify good, is
Yeah.
what it sounds like, but
Yeah.
trying to identify what made it good and how to recreate and deconstruct
And also
it,
find
that
your
takes
voice.
skill.
You know, your personal voice. That's how you put yourself out there through your work.
Right.
That is a challenging goal. It's a challenging goal in general. It's something that and I personally also believe that everyone can be creative. It's intimidating to do it, but I think that it's rewarding if you try. You know, it doesn't have to be any specific thing, but I think that's rewarding to have a creative outlet, to find some way to express yourself and just like purely, something that's purely creative and coming just straight from your soul. And it is daunting, but I think that it's worth it. And so she's telling this hilarious story about like, oh, there's this naked guy standing in the room and I don't know what I'm doing. And like, but I just kind of picked up on she was so used to the structure of corporate world of, we need to see X result, here are all the numbers, tell us what they mean. Everything's very structured and rigid.
Right. And
then you get into this world that it's
completely, there are no rules.
Yeah, what do you want it to be? Mm-hmm. And then it comes down to something very deeply introspective. So it's something there was a lot, to me, there was a fun layer on this because it was so funny hearing her talk about all this, and her accent's amazing, and she kept saying naked. And then there's just this layer of things that were so relatable with like kind of that first journey into creativity.
Yeah. And like I'm in a bunch of different podcasting groups, and there's so many people that are wanting to start something. And I've seen so many people be asking them for advice. They get all worked up on the tools, the mics, the recording devices and stuff. And they always are asking for people advice, and people are always giving the worst advice.
Right, the keyboard jockeys that have no podcast ability of their own. Right.
And I mean, we have a small show, but we've been doing this for long enough that we've kind of figured some stuff out. We know we learned what not to do by doing it.
Right. We feel confident saying that our show is better now than when we started.
One day you guys will actually launch the Podcast Discovery Show.
200 episodes in, we still haven't launched the show. We're working on it.
No, but so my advice is always just start.
Yeah.
Even if you don't release it yet, start recording. Hit record somewhere.
Just press record. Yeah, either on video or on your
Hilariously,
microphone.
I found out just the other day, my first episode of Creators Cove, I talked to Hollis Brown, and he was like, oh, I've thought about doing a podcast and interviewing musicians that I know. And I'm like, do it.
The Musician Discovery Show, done.
Yeah, I was like, just record it. And he has a podcast.
Does he really?
What? Wow. Now you're the Podfather.
Yeah. The Podfather. Get out of here.
I have a pod grandchild out there now.
Oh, no.
No, he has a great show because he's actually famous. And he talks to like actual musicians like that are really high level. And
I'm sure that opens up more doors for him
yeah,
too,
it
right?
definitely does because it's people that he tours with and things like that. But I literally just told him like, don't worry about it. Doesn't like he was worried about like, oh, I don't know how much time I need between episodes or how long I should make a season. I'm like, nobody is gonna actually care. Just start.
Just release.
Just do you.
That's the beauty and the danger of podcasts is that there's no rules.
Yeah.
I mean, you make your own rules. It's fun. It's fun. But yeah, so that brings us to the last story, which it was I think the shortest of them, but it came from what they called their story slam. Is that what they called it?
Yeah, and the one before too. Correct?
Yeah.
Was that part of the same episode? They kind of blurred together after a while. What was Coco about?
Coco is about a very special dog that they found at the pound.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember
the derpy
that
dog.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I call it.
It sounds just ridiculous, but I think it was just old. I think it was just a really old dog. So the story is Carlos Kotkin.
Yeah.
Carlos. Yeah, we'll call him Carlos.
Carlos goes to the pound,
Uh-huh.
and they see a messed up looking poodle.
Now, why did they go to the pound in the first place? Because he made it sound like they had no intention of getting a dog.
I'm wondering if they were browsing. You know what I mean? First of all,
he said that him and his dad, that's what they did every now and then.
Just something to do.
They would just go play with the dogs, take them out. And,
Right.
I get that, but I can't do that. That is a dangerous game for me.
It is
I don't
a
want a
dangerous
dog
game.
right now, and if I see...
Listen to the story.
Yeah.
This is the
I
reason
mean,
it's
yeah,
a dangerous
because
game.
the girl that was there was like, "Oh, you like that little dog over there?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's so
hope you
cute."
do.
Yeah, well, I hope you like him enough because in 10 minutes he's getting ready to be put down. They're like, "What do you do?" You know?
No, and that's why I won't go there.
Right.
Because I know what I would do. I would have Coco too.
Yeah.
I would have to deal with this dog. And so they get Coco home, and apparently Coco's kind of weird looking. Coco is slightly odd in general, has weird bathroom habits.
Says he wouldn't go to the bathroom outside. He would just stay on the concrete and go in the cracks.
Which is the worst possible way to do it. Then they tried to adopt Coco out because Coco is Coco.
And nobody wants him.
No, somebody took Coco, and then they get called from the pound the next week saying your dog's
right,
here.
That's right.
Because they took it back to
We
the
don't have a
pound.
dog. We give him away.
That's the worst. Who just takes it back to the pound?
So, granted, it's probably because of the name of the dog, but I immediately visualize the dog from
the movie Coco, yeah.
because it's such a derpy looking dog and his like tongue's always hanging out and stuff. So yeah, that was my visualization. But they ended up taking the dog back again.
No, because it was like friends with him now.
It was like
they tried
happy to
leave.
see him.
They were about to
And
leave.
it reminded, he knew who
and
they
then
were.
it barked at him. He says it's the only time he ever heard Coco bark was them leaving. It's like, no. So, but it ended up being like, it was an old dog, you know. Coco only lived for like another year after they had adopted her. Or him, I don't know.
Who knows what they're feeding her, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was an older dog when they got Coco, and that's probably why
We'll go with that,
Coco
yeah,
was
for sure,
due to being euthanized. But like, in the end, that was a year given. You know, that was a cool thing. You know,
Right.
And I love how he wraps it up because the premise for that story slam was persuasion. And they were talking about how the lady at the pound persuaded them to get Coco because
highly
they're like,
effective.
yeah, we're gonna kill this dog in 10 minutes.
Oh,
So,
I
I mean,
you
that's
wanna take it home, right?
Sell me this pin. Yes, sell me this Coco. Like,
That's why I can't go, because if anybody ever said, if I was ever in a situation, I think just generally in life, you see this dog is about to die in 10 minutes unless you take him. Like, man, give me the dog. Like,
I hate to
fine.
say it, but like, I could be in a situation like that. They're like, we'll put all these dogs down. You know, if you don't want to take them, I'd be like, you know what? That would be like 5 years of absolute misery. It would be difficult for me to, because I weigh decisions out that far in advance.
So you're saying you'd be fine, like, well,
No.
kill the dog.
I mean, it wasn't my responsibility, but you know, what I mean? No, I would.
Kill it.
I'm kidding.
I would not push the button. I wouldn't push the red button. You know?
What is that, Schrodinger's cat or whatever?
Yeah.
No, like, you know, the pain experiments where they.
Just close the box.
Just-
I
I just don't
as
know.
long as I don't
Don't
see
open it. Don't open it. Don't close it.
It's
but don't
not
open
dead
it.
unless you open the box.
Oh, no.
No, but they ended on kind of just like fun and light. So I really do think they had a great arc. Sounds great. Storytelling is fantastic. It's a really great show, and you should check it out. And Richie was actually saying that he dug into some more episodes afterwards.
I did.
That's why he got confused a few times, because he listened to more than just this one.
Yeah, I let like 30 stories roll one after the next. It was like 5 hours of the Moth Radio Hour, and then we were finally going to get dinner together. My wife's like, "What is this?" And she turned it on. It was in the middle of this girl's coming out story, and she was like, "What is
man.
this?" I was like, "I'm sorry, babe.
It's like, okay, we'll turn it
It's
off.
not what it sounds like." you know?
I'm deep in this show right now.
Yeah, I'm laughing, I'm crying.
But yeah, fantastic show. Awesome recommendation.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's
Very
one of
good
those that I have so many in my rotation, but this one's going to end up being in my rotation as well.
Yeah, it's
There's a lot of meta stuff going on. Like, you guys are referencing other podcasts that I've never even heard of, but they sound pretty interesting. What are your top 3 right now?
top 3 podcasts right now. Ooh, that's.
I mean,
tough.
I can do it.
Top 3 shootout.
Mine is for sure Snap Judgment. That's one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
One of my favorite ones that I found recently is the Florida Man on Florida Man show. It's made out of Lakeland, and
Really?
it's so good. They start with, I mean, we already reviewed them on the PDS, but they start with a Florida Man stories, a few, just like 2 or 3 news stories, funny, goofy news stories, whatever, you know. But then they talk a little bit about like their personal stuff. You know, they're a lot like us. That's what's funny is their upbringing. They went to a private school in Lakeland. They did the stupid stuff that you do when you're a small school and no one really cares. And so I relate to their stories. But then they always bring a Florida centric real story. They talk about Robert the Doll, which is some like doll that's supposedly haunted in Key West, or they talk about some historical guy that
Doll Watch.
Built a fort and so, but it's always an intriguing story. Like they did the Monkey Island, which was up in Silver Springs, which now there's wild monkeys in Silver Springs because of this guy that thought it was a good idea to have a tourist trap.
Island? What?
He had monkeys on an island. Oh, monkeys can't swim. They immediately swam off the island.
Did they really?
Just went wild.
It's
This is happening in Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, in Silver Springs, which is only 2 hours away, you will find random monkeys.
I feel like
They all have like, what is it, like herpes or something?
Yeah. No, they do.
People are getting bit all the time because they're like, oh, look, a monkey, and then it bites them as they're trying to pet
I
it.
mean, can you not Google?
That doesn't even sound like a good idea.
No, can you not Google if monkeys can swim? I don't think that's like a
I
complicated.
feel like
thing
that's
to do.
a pretty
This was
early
before
thing.
Google.
Yeah.
It was before Google.
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, they filmed a bunch of like Tarzan movies out there near Ocala and stuff like
I
that.
thought
It's
all
just,
that stuff happened in like India.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, Ocala.
Ocala. It's Florida, man.
But yeah, it's a really good show. And then my third, I would say, would be probably Lore. That's still one of my favorite shows, Aaron Mahnke's show. It's for you, Richie. It's he focuses on something that we see like in pop culture. I'll take it from this, like werewolves.
Okay.
It's a lore, but there's history to it. Where did it come from? Where did this idea of a werewolf come from?
The true roots in history from where this got started. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be something that's actually real, but you talk about what was the reality. And actually, it's very interesting. Like in France, this guy was using it basically as a defense for murder. He was murdering people, and he's like, I turn into a wolf, and I just kill people.
That's the actual
And so
historic
it's a
reference.
crazy story.
I had no
and
idea.
he actually started his show. He used to write fiction, self-published. He started his podcast. Now he's making six figures with his podcast. His podcast got picked up, and he's got 2 seasons on Amazon Prime of the show, like in a visual format.
So they just created like a TV format
Yeah.
based on his audio.
He's been extreme.
Wow.
He is the poster child for the success.
I mean, but that
of
seems
a
like a
podcast.
really good. It's right up there
awesome.
with Ancient Aliens and everything else like that on History Channel. Like, I could see that being a show. Obviously.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So those are my 3.
Your 3, quick.
I don't. Okay, one of them I don't want to say because I kind of want to recommend that. I want to be a surprise.
Uh-oh.
It's like a new one.
Oh.
It's like a new one.
Intrigue.
But This American Life always on the list. Like I've never listened to an episode of that I did not like. Hardcore History, same thing. Great show. And
So good.
You know what? I'm gonna throw Song Exploder on there. That's a
Song Exploder.
okay. So. Have you heard of Hardcore History? Basically, super deep dive into history, but
And they only post like one episode every eon.
But it's like 8 hours usually, and like it's from a great perspective. It's not the stuff you learned in history class. It's all the other stuff that makes it interesting.
Right.
It's a great show.
And the research that goes into it is nuts.
Yeah,
That's why it
it's-
takes so long.
Yeah,
Because he
it's-
reads like 15 books on the subject.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's absolutely crazy. They deserve to be as popular as they are. And then Song Exploder, he gets with an artist every week or whenever he releases, and he breaks down a song and the process on it, the sampling on it. He really digs into the creation of a song
Okay.
and breaks it down, and it's awesome.
Huh. So like he takes the instruments and who was behind it and who directed
Yeah,
it, who wrote it.
it really depends on which episode he's doing, because like if they're sampling something, then he'll get into how they sampled things and things like that. But if somebody just wrote a song, he'll talk to him about the process, and he'll talk to him about how they wanted to build out a song. He really just loves how song creation happens and has a really awesome show.
The closest I got to that was watching Straight Outta Compton, where I saw Dre do his thing on the keyboard.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it was.
It's basically Song Exploder. No, it's a good show though. It's a great show.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, and of course, we've found so many awesome indie shows, independent,
Oh, yeah.
small shows that are fun.
That's not all the shows I like.
Yeah, I
but
mean, that's
Those
the
just the
top
3 that came to mind
I
immediately.
wanted to throw out 3 that I could always go if I don't have something else, like, because we do a lot of like discovering, like trying to find something new to listen to or something interesting, and I like a lot of them. But if it's one of those things like I don't know what I want to listen to, I can throw on any of those 3, and I'm good.
Those are the ones that we trust enough to, no matter what the episode is. You
Yeah.
don't have to go through and find, oh, this one looks interesting. You just put the next episode on. You're like,
Yeah.
I didn't think I was interested in that, but now I am.
Very cool.
And I've learned something on most of
I'd
them.
say mine though, in order of most important, clearly the podcast Discovery Show,
Clearly.
number 1 ever, and then
Best show ever made.
and then number 2 and
to
number
no
3,
one.
Bigger Pockets podcast.
Sure.
It's all about home buying and selling and flipping, that whole industry. And then I really like Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street's podcast. When you talk about somebody who knows
I
selling,
cannot believe he has a podcast.
I
I didn't think he did either. I actually hadn't listened to any of his stuff until meet Kevin, who is a real estate agent. He's like in his early mid-20s. He broke down an interview between Grant Cardone, who is a real estate mogul, big time guy, and Jordan Belfort. And I had been listening to Grant Cardone's stuff, and then Jordan Belfort literally just hamstrung this dude on his podcast inadvertently. and the dude just imploded and melted. I
Oh,
was
wow.
like, you know, obviously everybody's seen the Wolf of Wall Street movie.
Yeah.
But then to listen to this dude's podcast, I was like, this guy's the real deal. So of course I got his sales thing and got into it, and it's very effective training. But yeah,
That's awesome.
3, 2, 1. That's my list.
Well, I guess that brings us to next week's recommendation. And this is one that I had not listened to before and kind of dug into and found it, and it's really interesting.
I'm excited.
Go for it.
This is called Proof by America's Test Kitchen. And if you guys haven't heard of that, that is a PBS cooking show.
Yep.
And they've been on for like 20 seasons.
Yeah.
They really are in depth on the process of refining recipes and teaching people how to do it's a really cool channel. YouTube channel's great, show's great. They put out recipes, they put out a lot of stuff, and they put out a podcast called Proof.
Oh.
And what it is they break down different kind of historical reasons for different like food elements. So the ones I'd like to recommend, and I have 2 because it's like 30, and then there's a bonus episode that was interesting. It's about 16, so it's
Like
still
45 minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're very different, and so that's why I thought it was cool. So the first one is prepping for the worst, and that is why people started having long shelf life foods, why they started storing them, the process of making high shelf life foods, a lot of stuff. You guys are gonna like it.
Okay.
Second one, what weird things did the presidents eat? Self-explanatory.
Okay.
And yeah,
I love food stuff, and I love hearing about history. So these two come together and make
it melds it perfectly. Food and history.
a beautiful baby about food.
You can't spoil any of the
food baby.
foods that were weird that the presidents ate.
No, you got to listen to it.
I mean,
I'm
Lincoln
trying to
ate a
think about-
bullet, so
I'm try-
that's pretty
Oh.
weird, right? Like,
I mean, it's weird. It's weird, and it's unusual. Only 2 presidents have eaten that.
that's true. Yeah.
No, 3, because Reagan got shot too. Okay, this is all too dark. We're gonna have to cut this
Wow.
from the actual show.
He more,
You're welcome, you two. Enjoy that.
one weird trick.
No, okay. I'll drop one. Jefferson used to make what he called, I can't remember what he called it, a booze loaf or something. It's something ridiculous. He would soak a baguette in red wine until it was like mush. And he put macaroni and cheese on it.
Ooh.
It's like, gross, dude.
Who is this?
Jefferson.
He would
Like-
do what? Okay, say
Thomas,
those words
Thomas
again.
Jefferson.
Yeah, but say those words
He would
again.
soak a baguette in wine.
Did they have macaroni and cheese like soon after the American Revolution? Is this
So
I mean,
actually, I
Yankee
remember
Doodle,
hearing
right?
about like
No.
him
think
being
that
one
was
of the
a
first
different,
ones with wet macaroni and cheese. It's like some weird one of the presidents.
And it's not Kraft macaroni and cheese. Like it's not. It wasn't yellow.
noodles
It
with
was
cheese.
noodles
It
with
wasn't the
cheese on it.
cheesiest.
Yeah, like, it was Parmesan cheese. Like
How did he microwave it? Like,
yeah. But that's one example
Okay,
of something
alright.
weird that they're eating. But there's a lot more. They break it down. But yeah, really fun show. You learn a lot, and it's really interesting. And America's Test Kitchen is great. We'll check that out too.
Huh.
And remember,
There's always more to discover. Why don't you keep us
Bye,
on? Why don't you
YouTube.
keep us on for a second so we can talk to
Oh,
the chat
yeah,
for a
yeah,
minute?
okay.
'Cause
Okay,
there's
sure.
A few people in there.
oh yeah, we do have some chat.
Oh, see, nobody said anything to the
Hey,
chat.
hey.
Yeah,
Bagware?
they did.
Owner of Own? No, they
See,
did.
Owner of Own, you get it. I don't know. I don't like soggy bread in general.
I mean, but if it's soaked in red wine,
I don't know.
it kind of changes.
Bread and wine, man. Just have it together.
No,
at the
I mean
same
that's
time.
what they said. Is like it sounds like a hangover food. That essentially you instead of having bread, wine, and mac and cheese, you just make it into like a mush and you just shove it down your gullet.
See that it's the mixing of the things together. I can get the bread and wine. The mac and cheese with the bread and wine is the thing that throws.
That's
me
like a
off.
real Elvis move right there.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have heard about the Elvis sandwich, right? Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
classic
Oh, yeah, yeah.
PB&J with bacon on it, but he would do it with a
Dinosaur.
French loaf, and it's like a full jar of peanut butter.
Oh yeah. And next
Like-
level. I don't know how you
I mean,
down that.
It explains why he was large by the end of his life.
Yeah, I mean,
He stopped twisting at the hip. You know, that's
I
the
mean,
problem.
clearly.
Let's see here. So Bagware, what's up? If you're still there, this is my squad that showed up from
yeah. Thank you guys for
Hey,
tuning
yeah.
in.
Brands and
for-
Empires Nations. Good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
checking it out.
Owner of Own, good to see you, man. So what do we got? Fashionably late. What's up, guys? Man, I wish there was some meat and potatoes behind the chat, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we're getting there. So we're just now getting into live streaming the show. This has been a podcast for 3 years now. And this is only the third time that we've live streamed it. So we're still getting a little bit better, getting a little bit better camera setup, our setup for sound and stuff like that here as well. So as we go along, we're trying to create a little bit more of a buzz about the show.
Yeah, I think so. And I think as people from the traditional podcast category transition over into YouTube, they'll get accustomed to it. They'll get hooked on it, I think is what's going to happen. Because a lot of these people are listening and digesting it on their daily commute. But then when they get home and you want to hang out with your favorite podcasters, this really opens up a lot of doors for them to do that.
And I've actually been wanting to do this for a long time. Some of my favorite podcasts, they do stream live their shows, and it's fun because you can be part of the show. You can, be part of the chat. You can give them ideas while they're recording, and maybe later on down the road, the chat we'll have a little area at the end where we can,
go back and forth Q&A session.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Just talk with everybody.
Yeah.
That's really what we're about. It's just like building a community of people who want to discover stuff.
Opening that dialogue up in general. Yeah, I think so.
But you were the inspiration for us doing this, though.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, you definitely were, because you're like, why don't you guys have a YouTube channel? You're already recording something.
Yeah, you've already got
in
great
one
content,
place.
So let's just spread it to the world.
Yeah, you could say that he's building our brand and empire.
Help them build both. It was purely selfish. I just wanted merchandise sales. I think that's what it was.
It works out. It works out. It works out for everybody.
That's funny. Oh, and I would be remiss if I didn't push. Gerald Houston is getting ready to launch his merchandise line in the next couple of days. Make sure you check him out as well. He's a viral comedian that just hit 1 million followers on Instagram.
Really?
And he's like 300,000 or 400,000 on YouTube.
That's awesome.
He's got like anywhere from 1 million to 700,000 on Facebook. So he's super viral.
Yeah, that's
all
great.
he does is he runs up and like pranks people doing random stuff. He's hilarious. But he's getting ready to launch his merchandise line. We're doing that. I told him I would plug him on here if maybe we have some love spread around down the road. So
Yeah, no, I mean, Todd's is coming up. It's a great time to, if you want to discover him, go for it.
Yeah, we can do that.
The
other Discovery show.
Oh.
That's our next show. So we're going to take a tiny break. Don't leave the chat if you don't have anything else to do. We'll put some music on for a
we're
minute.
gonna put some bangers on.
We're going to
Let's
kind of
do
get
that.
our notes together, and then we'll be back maybe 15, 20.
Sounds good to me. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
יומן הקפיטונה, היי ברוכים השבים 42 לאורנוס תאריך כוכבים המשכתי בחיפוש אחרי תנאי מחיה טובים עד שכמעט ואזלו המשאבים בים קום לחזור הביתה נקלעתי לפנטזיה עליתי קצת למעלה איבדתי גרביטציה פרידה השאירה חור שחור בלב בגודל אסיה אז התחלתי מחדש מול הגלקסיה טס לאן ללא ידוע לבד ולא רגוע הלב מאוד פצוע בכל זאת נוע הגעגוע הוא הכוח הכי גרוע אני לא נלחם בו וגם לא נשאר כנוע ממשיך מחפש עם השיט עם הסטרס מה שבא בשבילי בשבילי זה הבסט אסדר את הווסט כנס לקווסט חפש את הפס שחרר את הברקסט ונקסט יו לבדי מבולבל מולדי מאופן מי יגיד אם בכלל כולם אוהבים בחלל לפעמים זה לא קל אל תרגיש כאומלל בוא איתי כי חבל כולנו אדומים בחלל קפיטונה, לבד שלי המשיך 4 משהו לשבתאי כוכבים תאריך, אין לי שמץ של מושג לאן פונים או מה צריך אני טרמפיסט בגלקסיה בלי מדריך לוקח אוויר ונזכר בלילות הקשים בכולם מחפשים לעשות, להרשים, לגלות להגשים, להאשים ועושים המון רעש יחסית לאנשים אבודים בחלל זום אאוט, מבט מעל מבין שהלבד שלי הוא לא לבד כלל דתות צדדים, כתות שבטים, אורות שלטים מרוב פחדים שכחתי שאני מסוגל ליהנות מהנוף, מהרייד האינסוף לפניי אני לוסט, אני בוס, אני פה, אני חי וואלה קים זמן טס אז רק פרסט קלאס כמו זינק סטארדסט אני שם גז לבדי, מבולבל מולדי, מאופן מי יגיד אם בכלל כולנו אבודים בחלל לפעמים זה לא קל רואים שיודעים הכל ולא מודים עדיין, כולנו אבודים בחלל ושוב רבים על בית, מוצא דת ימין או שמאל, אז בוא נרים לחיים, כולנו אבודים בחלל, כולנו אבודים בחלל, כולנו אבודים בחלל, כולנו אבודים בחלל, כולנו אבודים. Just to think, yesterday you were mine and I was yours. I would wait just to beg.
Und was der Fichtel uns jetzt gleich sagen wird, das werden wir anhören. Mit von der Partie die Woodies. Und was der Fichtel uns jetzt gleich sagen wird, das werden wir anhören. Mit von der Partie die Woodies. Und was der Fichtel uns jetzt gleich sagen wird.
To the way we were before, waking up, still stuck in the endless back and forth. Time will tell us just where we go. Always stuck inside your tornado. 'Cause I'm waiting out the storm before I up and go. I see beneath your scars, I never been so. Oh, I'm waiting out the storm. I hear the thunder roll, but it's turning me apart like a Pushing and you're pulling, gotta slow down. You're talking to me like you think you know it all. Well, it's dangerous, ain't no saving us if you can't let go now. Oh, I've been lost in a lie, been down one too many times. So call me when you're ready to let go. When you let go, I could take you all the way to heaven, heaven. Take this elevator to 11, 11. Baby, let me take a little time with it, time with it. Here's what I need you to know. I could take you all the way to heaven, heaven. Take this elevator to 11, 11. Baby, let me take a little time with it, time with it. I like when I'm in control. Take you all the way to heaven. Take this elevator to 11. I could take you all the way to heaven. Take this elevator to 11. I like when I'm in control. Too many times. So call me when you're ready to let go. Let the sun go down. We ain't gotta sleep. We're sailing. sun go down.
I'm searching for some sunshine. Just need one ray through the dark skies. I gotta look for the bright side. I know we're gonna be alright. I know we're gonna be alright. Just make it through another day. These dark clouds will go away. I'm holding on to my faith. I know we're gonna be okay. Yeah, we're gonna be okay.
Und was der Fichtel uns jetzt gleich sagen wird, das werden wir uns anhören. Mit von der Partie die Woody.
Whoa, 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 oh. Feel the thunder, but there's something sweet about the rain. We're going under, but that's not how we'll stay. a star last night and thought of you. But it must have been a dream, 'cause you're not here. I've never been one to believe in fairy tales or fantasy, but perhaps it's time for a change of mind. I guess there's a first for everything. We fell in love, we had our fun. You always had enough dreams for both of us. I wonder what would come of us if we could trade these ends for beginnings. I'm drinking from an empty cup. The hardest part of young love was growing up. It's not enough to fill me up, 'cause now there's one less star in the city. Now there's one less star in the city. Now there's one less star in the city. I saw a shooting star last night and thought of you. But I woke up from a dream, you're not here. We fell in love, we had our fun. You always had enough dreams for both of us. I wonder what will come of us, 'cause now there's one less star in the city. Cause now there's one less star in the city. We fell in love, we had our fun. You always had enough dreams for both of us. I wonder what would come of us if we could trade these ends for beginnings. I'm drinking from an empty cup. The hardest part of young love was growing up. It's not enough to fill me up, 'cause now there's one less star in the city. I can't keep living without you, but I'll wait and someday I'll join you in the stars. But for now, I can't keep thinking about you, 'cause I can't find my way. 'Cause now there's one less star in the city. I can't keep living without you, but I'll wait and someday join you in the stars.
We are
Long response.
live. Hello, everybody. Thanks for sticking around.
Hello, hello.
We
All
are
right.
recording.
Yep, I got us on here. Let's get 10 seconds of silence real quick. All right. We are good. So to give everybody that's in the chat a little heads up, what this show is, it's our bonus show that we put out every other week, and we call it the Other Discovery Show. Other Discovery Show. I almost said something else.
Easy for you to say.
So it's all of the other stuff that doesn't have to pertain to podcasts that we've discovered. It's been probably one of our funner things that we've done is to make this show. It's more lighthearted in a lot of ways. Not saying PDS is too serious, but
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as serious, no.
but yeah, it's our fun bonus that we give to the listeners. What was that?
What?
I can't recreate it, but it was something
the
my
chair.
feet did.
Oh, it was
Or your feet?
It was
That's
my
even
feet.
more impressive.
I suppose we have like these coolers that make alarm noises, and I was worried it was one of those alarms going off.
Nope,
It
it's
wasn't.
not.
All right, let's
I
get
completely
going.
forgot to top off my Mountain Dew.
The time is now.
It's too late.
No, it's
we're
not.
already
It's
done.
not.
No, we're
We're
fine.
live streaming, but we're good.
We're fine with the live
Now's
stream.
the time.
I'm okay. I'll survive.
Here.
Okay.
I just saw your talk last, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late to the game. Just checking email.
Oh, that's because you're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, I'm Malcolm in the middle over here.
Stuck in the middle with you.
I like how that tapped the table in rhythm with what the next two beats would be on that. That was pretty impressive.
He meant to do it.
Yeah,
Promise
I
you.
definitely meant to do that. Don't ever doubt it. My entire
Don't look at
life
my
is
don't look at my
based
discovery.
I'm kind of getting like a head start here.
You can't look at my discovery.
Appreciate
It's
it,
my
sir.
secret.
Do you have two discoveries written in there?
No, it's just the one that
The
I
one
need.
that needs
This is.
reference.
I have another one on my phone, but yeah, this is the one that I want to have a reference for and have some quotes. Last week, or the last one we did, I had one about stripes on zebras actually deter insect bites. So they started drawing stripes on cows, and they
And it
did
worked.
scientific experiments, and there was like 60% less bug bites on the striped cows.
Wow.
It was very
Forget
effective.
Deepwood's
It was really
off.
weird.
Yeah,
Just
no,
stripes.
Very effective. Yeah. So now when I go into the woods, I just paint body paint.
Just
all
get-
day.
He doesn't even wear any clothes.
Get
He's
buck
just body
naked.
paint.
No, I mean that's part of it. Is when you do body paint. That
Poison
means
ivy
it-
is a
it
mess,
implies-
but you
yeah,
know,
I mean,
no mosquitoes.
don't touch any bushes. But other than that, like yeah, it's very
All
effective.
right, I can see that. I can see that. That's funny. It's funny because I was expecting Mountain Dew and I got ginger ale. I was like, wait a second.
Is there a Mountain Dew?
No, there wasn't. It's just a green can.
No,
that
I
came
mean,
out of it.
yeah, I was curious. I was like, I mean, if there's a Mountain Dew around, I'll grab it for you. But that's not.
No, yeah, the
not
ginger
what's over
ale.
there.
Yeah,
All right, y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Welcome to the Other Discovery Show, the podcast that is not about podcasts. It's about all the other things that we've discovered throughout the week. I'm Kirk,
I'm Zach.
and we have a special guest this week.
Richie from Brands and Empires.
Question, Richie, what's it like to be a viral YouTube person?
I'll let you know when I get there.
So I've been watching some of your channel, and I've learned a lot about, I guess...
No, you haven't. I don't teach
Brands.
you things.
No,
Brands and Empires.
Both brands.
well, I
and
watched your most famous video, and
Oh.
the whole time I'm like,
Does this guy ever blink?
no, my question was, what's DTG? He just keeps saying DTG, and I don't know what it
Hey,
means.
I'll tell you right now.
I know what it means
Direct
now.
to garment.
I know what it means
Yes.
now.
Yes.
I literally, halfway through your video, I'm like, what the freak? I had to
Google
Google it.
Google it. Yeah.
I gotta find out. I need to
That's
know.
funny. I didn't even think about that. I geared that video
Well, yeah.
so towards people who were like in the market to go buy one of these $20,000 machines that it didn't even occur to me that anybody else would ever watch it.
I will say that you did it in a way that I was even interested in it. And I don't make shirts. So you did do a good job. I'm not
That's
I'm not,
shocking.
I'm
I've
not
heard
blowing
this
Kirk
smoke up
wanted
your
to make
butt.
shirts.
After that
Afterwards.
video,
Afterwards.
I need to go out and buy a DTG.
No, definitely it was the opposite.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what DTG is, but I need to do it.
I need one right now in my life. Yeah.
So yeah, you have a YouTube channel.
I do.
Brands and Empires, right?
That is the name of my YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's a
And
good
it's
one.
growing. Yeah. So I started it just because, you know, I figured I've got a screen printing and embroidery business, and I've been in the promotional products industry for 10 years now. I might as well just get into social media because I felt like a lot of the stuff that was being put out there from people who were good entertainers but had been in the business for like 6 months was content thin and opinion
Sure.
rich, and that's why my third video was that one where I'm just like, all right, so you've heard from these people who will convince you of anything that you should go out and drop 20 grand, but whoa, there's a whole other side of this story from 3 years of ownership that you really need to know about. And that's kind of where I had no idea that I was going to get more than 30 views on that thing. It was just
Yeah, I
just
mean,
ran.
it's one of the, I feel like that's just the internet.
But it is. Yeah, you have no idea.
Yeah, no, people who, and kind of both sides of this, people who don't really have the opinion that would be appropriate for, I want to believe this person. They have the knowledge. It doesn't really matter. They're going to throw their opinion out there. And sometimes that'll hit too. But you kind of went at it from like practicality and tried to approach it that way. And I think people appreciate that. And that's probably why it hit.
I heard it two ways. You know, like you have this is in terms of like dietary practices.
Sure.
You have something like the China study that comes out. That's 30 years worth of research, hundreds of cited studies, and then you have something like the Paleo Diet book that comes out and it's just some dude's opinion on how Neanderthals ate, and they're given equal footing. It's like, oh well, you know, this guy has an opinion and this guy has an opinion, and just because they've been given a national stage, you just think they're equal, even though there's a lot of depth behind one and there's not behind another. And that's how the internet is. It's whoever's got the loudest voice, the most traction, is the one that goes. And you know,
So it's a double-edged sword.
It's dangerous. It's super dangerous.
Just the internet. So always take your internet knowledge with a grain of salt, because sometimes people don't actually know what they're talking about. Even though they will pretend to.
Right, and they will convince you that they know what they're talking about.
No, and people are very convincing at it. They will act like they are the authority on some subject. Doesn't mean they actually are.
That's exactly right.
And so it's complicated. But yeah, that's great, man. We're thrilled to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
So I want to tell you guys about something that I found out.
Tell me.
Did you know that North Korea has rewritten basketball rules?
You can't be over 5'4"?
I have. Is that a rule? Is there a height rule in basketball? It's like you must be over 6 feet, or just stop. You're not gonna. It's gonna be bad.
So this is the Herald Sun where I got this. I have to read this whole article, so I wanted to say where I got it from, because the whole thing, there's just so much in here. Because, former North Korean leader Kim Jong-il self-reported 38 under round of golf is nothing compared to what his. Let me get it's ridiculous.
No, 38 under is like world champion, the best that's ever played it.
It's better than Tiger Woods.
Yeah, the best that ever did it.
Let me get to the. It's
nobody
it's
contested it. Everybody confirmed it.
It's like, oh, that's true. He was riding a dragon while he did it.
Most honorable leader, yeah.
It's nothing compared to what his son Kim Jong-un has cooked up on the basketball court. Oh. We all remember the shockwaves felt throughout the golfing world when North Korea's state-run media revealed Tiger Woods' golfing ability was a very distant second. So funny.
Very distant.
To that of their dear leader. Kim reportedly nailed 11 holes in one and shot a 38 under.
11 hole-in-ones.
This is
in one game, not just
a 38
impressive.
under par round of 34. The first time, listen to this, the first time he ever picked up a club.
Oh, wow. What a natural.
must be nice to be a god king.
So this was in 1994. The report was verified. It was verified by 17 trusty security guards. There was 19, but the other 2 are dead now.
Yeah, the 2 that were like, what are you talking about? They were immediately deported to the ocean.
They all agreed
Deported,
that
that's a polite word.
They all agreed that Kim shot no worse than a birdie on any hole and recorded a score 21 shots better than any professional golfer in history. Yeah. Incredible stuff for a 52-year-old who'd never played the game before.
I agree with that statement, at least. With
I can't wait to see what's going on with basketball.
Oh, it's so good. But North Korea, now ruled by his son, has turned its game-changing attention to basketball, reinventing the scoring system.
I mean, it's got to be a genetic thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're just great at sports.
Naturally,
Amazing.
just pure natural.
Forget about
step in and win.
Forget about the final moments of a game taking half an hour as teams relentlessly send each other to the free throw line. Why not continue to shoot field goals, which quadruple in value to 8 points during the last 3 minutes? Or get yourself a bonus point for a slam dunk. Here's the list of rules.
The slam dunk rule makes sense.
Slam dunks are
1
now...
point for a slam dunk?
No, I'm saying because exactly what you said. I feel like generally they are shorter than Americans are. So, like, there's extra value to be able to
Is it against
dunk.
the rules for them to, like, climb on each other's shoulders and, like, team sport thing?
It seems like it would be. Maybe. Who knows?
So slam dunks are now worth 3 points instead of 2.
Okay.
I kind of get that one. I get that one. I don't get this one. Field goals, which is just, I guess, a regular shot.
Yeah, it's shooting.
In the final 3 minutes of the game are now worth 8 points.
So, like when somebody just lobs the ball from...
Yes, a layup in the last 3 minutes is worth 8 points.
Okay.
3-pointers are now worth 4 if the ball doesn't touch the rim.
3 equals 4. Okay. Oh, if it doesn't.
If it doesn't touch the
How
rim.
do you prove that? They don't have cameras in North Korea. Like at least.
Oh, they do.
At least not on the hoops. It's all on the people, right? Like.
Yeah.
This one Shaq would hate. A point is reduced. Dang it. They put deducted. Oh, deducted is the right word.
Yeah,
I said the wrong
that's a
word. A point is deducted for missed free throws.
Yeah, so Shaq's done.
So.
Oh, so if you miss, you're out.
Yeah, well, you miss
No,
you,
not
you
just
lose a
you're
point.
out. You lose a point.
That's
not just
rough.
you get no point.
That's rough.
You lose one.
What's the free throw percentage for an NBA?
Well, Shaq was barely over 50.
I would be surprised if Shaq was at 50.
So he would pretty much be at a net zero.
Yes. No,
Unless one of the rules is they need a double win.
Well, I mean, he was putting up 20, 30 points a game because he could just walk up to the basket and just like stick it in there.
Oh, yeah.
But, like,
go to the general and save some
yeah,
time.
he was he was not hitting free throws. I'll say that. Dwight Howard would be a liability on your team.
But
It's just negative.
it was just such a funny story. I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
Why even do it?
Because you
like-
can.
Because
I was waiting to hear that Kim Jong Un scored like 300 points
Yeah.
in a
No,
game by himself.
the
though.
first time
There
Kim
is-
Jong Un played basketball, he shot a hole in one every single time he shot it.
and everybody clapped.
There's a video that was linked to this article. I didn't watch it, but it had to do with him and his basketball experience. So I'm pretty sure it shows him shooting, and then a frame, like a completely different shot of the basket hoop just going
Ball
straight
going
in.
in. It's
Like, the sun's in a completely different spot.
hard cut.
You can see the guy's feet that's standing on the hoop just dropping the ball.
But you know they probably already cut him off.
I mean, he was friends with Dennis Rodman for a while.
He was. There was
Yeah.
a lot of guys that like he tried to invite over, very famous people, and some of them weren't allowed to go back. But
I mean, Dennis Rodman does what Dennis Rodman's going to do. He's not really concerned. But yeah, he was hanging out with him for a while. But that's wild.
is that what you discovered?
That is not what I discovered. What I discovered is depression recipes.
I'm already depressed.
First
Question.
of all,
Yeah. Is
This-
it if you're depressed or is it during
No.
the
the
depression?
great
Got all
depression.
kinds of depression
That
recipes.
makes
No,
sense.
it's
The
not
mac
like
and cheese
ice
with
cream.
red
the-
wine
the
from the
pre-
last episode.
Yeah, no, the depression recipe is like, I don't know, bread. Like whatever you can just like force yourself to eat. I don't
Government
know.
cheese.
Like ramen
I
noodles.
don't know if they had access to bread if they were like that.
No, I'm
poor.
talking about actual depression. Actual depression
Oh,
is
oh, like, I'm
depression
depressed.
recipes for if you're depressed is like alcohol, bread, ramen noodles.
Some bougie depression
Yeah,
stuff.
just I mean, I don't know which part of that's bougie. That all sounds
Like,
the opposite of that.
eating like a high-end hobo here.
I mean, the Great Depression was something that we kind of learned about in school, but it's
Yeah.
not something that I don't know if we fully appreciate as adults. Okay, so the Great Depression, stock market crashes.
Okay.
It shockwaves to the entire world because of how bad this is. Literally, we were looking at trade plunged by 50%. 50%. Half. Unemployment rose to 25%, and in some countries, rose as high as 33%. 1 out of 3 people is now unemployed.
Wow.
Literally starvation. People having to stand in line and wait for somebody to help them because just there's nothing.
I have a very dumb question, and this has to do
There are
with
no dumb
me
questions.
not learning very well in history class because of our school.
I mean, yeah, our teacher.
The Great Depression was worldwide. I thought it was mainly in the U.S.
It was in the U.S., but that's our view on it. All of this, if something this significant happens here, it would spread.
It went everywhere, right? Yeah,
Because,
you're right.
you know, okay.
All we learned was an American history
Yeah.
perspective of it. I'm with you.
I
on
thought it was
that.
like the American stock
No,
market
we did.
crashed.
It did, and it did. But that affects a lot of things because we're highly involved in worldwide trade and
But
buying
we weren't
and
nearly as
selling.
much pre-World War II. Our economy didn't really blow up until after World War II, right?
No,
As
not as
superpower.
much, but still, even then, it was something that was felt across the world because of just the level of impact it had, even on this country.
Okay.
Because if you're talking about quarter unemployment, it would be unacceptable now. 1 out of 4 people has no job, can't get a job. That is significant. It's incredible. But what this article is about how people started to make food to try and feed their family as cheaply as possible during this time. Because literally there was like soup lines. You know, people would go wait in line to just try and get food. People would just try and find any way they could to make ends meet. You know, because they had no options. And there was bankers and executives that were just on the street and you're done. And
Right,
it was,
overnight.
And literally, policy has changed. I don't think that we could have a Great Depression right now because literally there are different rules for how the stock market operates today because of the Great Depression. They changed things so that it couldn't bottom out the same way.
Right. It wouldn't happen the same way.
They literally put rules in to try and avoid this ever happening again. It was that significant of a time in American history.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to tell you that so you understood the time that we were in. And then this blog kind of went through some Depression era recipes and things that you could make so that you could try to experience what it was like to. And I mean, honestly, I feel like there was starvation at this time. So there was some people who were just doing whatever you could. But at the same time, there were some recipes that these people had investigated and found that were out of this era, and I thought it was interesting. So they had pork stew. So they had a lot of soups because that's a great way to stretch.
You can thin it out.
That's a great way to stretch what you have. You put everything you have in a bowl. You add water. You make it more. You go. So and I'll share all this so you guys can check out all the recipes. But basically, they will tell you how to make all this old-fashioned corn and potato salad. Sounds super Southern. Like
It does.
me for one. I've heard my grandparents talking about eating like mayonnaise salads all the time, and like my grandpa will eat like mayonnaise and banana sandwiches.
Sounds
It
gross.
was a different time, post-Depression era.
Yep.
They ate different things.
I will say this: I have two grandparents. They're no longer with us, but I remember growing up and going to their house, and there was a sense of they were food hoarders.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of people.
Because they went through
sticks.
this.
Yep.
It sticks.
And they were so terrified of going through that again that they pickled everything, they froze everything. I mean, you'd go into and then like they would have dates on. I'm like, this is 20-year-old freaking.
It's bulging from botulism. Like, let's get rid of it, Grandma. No.
Yes, like no, yeah, we're not getting rid of that. And it's just like it was a thing that if you know somebody that went through it, there is something that has stuck with them. And it's usually something like that,
Yeah.
like a hoarding ideology or like food.
Is there anybody left that went through the Great Depression like that, though?
Here's
I
the
feel
thing:
like
our grandparents, their parents did. So
right.
if your
Our grandparents' parents.
if
went
your
through that.
grandparent has 4 freezers at their house, that is because of the Great Depression.
learned habits.
Yes,
yeah. a
their
generation
parents
removed.
told them like, have enough, because they did not. People were starving. People were like they were starving all the time. They ran like it was a really bad time. And okay, I'll read you this recipe just so you get a sense of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
This one is called cream tuna on toast. Literally 1/4 cup margarine, 1/4 cup flour, 2 cups milk, 1 can of tuna. So 1 can of protein for, and let's see how many this feeds. Serves 4, 1 can of tuna. You see what I'm saying? It's stretching.
The picture doesn't look good either.
No,
It looks gross.
It does not look appetizing, and I mean it's on toast. You
Looks
know,
like thin oatmeal.
So it
It's
serves
like
4, and
stretched.
it probably costs.
it costs
$1.
Easily like $1.
And so that's what I'm saying is, but I love that perspective of this isn't just like
This is solutions to a crisis.
yeah, like eat grass, you know, try and just like eat something. They were trying to cook something for their family. You know, this is for a family. It serves 4.
They know they have no
Yeah,
money.
it
Let's
serves
just make it
4.
work.
What can we do to make a recipe so that everybody can eat? How we can deal with it, you know? And okay, first of all, this one is not disgusting. This is called cornmeal griddle cakes. And
For
if you've never
15
had,
people.
if you've never had,
That's like your grandma's
Like-
hoe cakes, right?
yes, if you've never had savory pancakes, go try it. It's great. It
Well,
is
let's read the recipe in its entirety out.
cornmeal, flour, baking powder, salt, an egg, milk, and fat. And
There,
it just says
go
fat
make it
because
just based on that alone.
literally
no measurements.
Seriously, just trust me. Yeah, pancakes are amazing. They have
No, but fat is different than butter. It's very rich.
well lard, fat, whatever.
Yeah.
Like whatever's available
Yeah.
is kind of what this
Yeah.
implies to me if they say fat. But like seriously, trust me. Savory pancakes with syrup, it's on point. My grandma makes something she calls hoe cakes, and okay, I'll tell you the lore behind it. What they said is you cook it on a hoe. You know, you cook it on like a hoe.
Like
It was
yeah.
Depression era, and so you cook it on a hoe. You stick it in the fire and you cook it on there. And it's a pancake, but it's savory. It's got cornmeal in it. It's not sweet in itself. Then you hit it with a little syrup. I'm telling you, it's next level. So that's a great Depression era recipe. And then they have even a dessert. And this is one of those things that, like, it's not necessary, it's not survival, but it's human, you know, to like have that a step beyond survival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just survival. Let's have something that is a step beyond that.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a dessert recipe as well. But yeah, I'd love for you guys to check out all these recipes. Maybe try one out. Griddle cakes, I guarantee, are going to be delicious because I've had something very similar and it's great. But it's just cool to see people who were fighting through a terrible time in American, for sure, world history as well. And they fought for trying to make food for their family and trying to find a way to make it so that they could stretch the limited supplies they had to make a meal.
I see that.
So on the exact same note, just as depressing and stuff like that,
I believe
Richie,
it.
please tell us about what your first discovery is.
Okay.
Okay, so this week I discovered something, and
I heard
You know,
it changed your life.
it did. I've
It
probably
definitely
watched
changed,
this
it definitely
video.
changed my life. I've never been the same after.
Die Woodies, Fliegelwasser, whatever. My buddy sent like a 30-second clip of this video to me on Instagram, and it's like these two high as heck German guys that are just doing whatever they want to do in tune with this pre-recorded music, and it was like just a short clip. I was like, there has to be more to
So
this.
are they just feeling the music and just?
They're-
I have to see it. I have to watch it.
It's recorded. They did this on purpose.
It was like a public broadcasting type channel, but they played it to like a room of at least 500 people or more, and it was all about like preserving the forest and being like kind to the environment. I found this out after the fact, but
I'm
in the
gonna-
moment it was.
I'm going to throw this out to the live streamers. Please watch the guy playing the bongos. Those bongos are like fake tree trunks, and it's not actually bongos. And he's just like,
It was he's so high. And
It's-
they even missed their like bird calls. It's just, I'm telling you, the 30th time you watch it, it's better than it's better than the 29th.
it's okay. So we're going to
We
see how
just
this
gotta cue it
goes.
This was our technical stuff.
Maybe
that we're
maybe write an edit point. YouTube people watching. If this doesn't work, let me know in chat. I'm trying. We'll see how
We're
this
gonna try
goes.
to play it
This is
on the
gonna
live
change your
stream.
life.
Und was der Fichte
Everybody
uns
in my
jetzt
Discord
gleich sagen wird, das werden wir uns anhören. Mit von der Partie die Woodies.
Aspen Dental, we're all about yes to free exam and x-rays for new patients without insurance.
You are welcome, everybody.
That's got to be my favorite song.
The
all
best
week.
song of all time.
Thank you, Owner Ravone.
Owner Ravone gets it. It's.
Oh man,
I
it's
don't
the
know.
best.
There's. I don't even know how to describe. The first time I saw that video, I was just like, what am I watching? What is happening right now?
I mean, all the the subtle misses where they're not even paying attention to lip sync in time.
It's not on time, even a little bit. It's like, you guys made this video.
I mean, they're in front of 1,000 people, and you know that they are as high as you could possibly be doing what they're doing. It's just it's the best. The Germans ate it up too.
Yeah, I mean they were all about it. So I mean, what's effective is effective. You can't argue with effective.
They definitely preserved their environment after that. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
It's people like them that are saving the trees.
Thank you.
They're the reasons that we're drinking out of
It's a
out of
controlled
paper
burn
straws.
probably in their trees. I don't know.
All right, so I have a discovery this week that was brought from Keith in our Podcast Discovery Club. If you're not in the Podcast Discovery Club, go over to Facebook, and join the club. It's very fun. We always have discoveries. Actually, almost every single day we have a discovery from us, and then other club members share stuff as well.
Yeah, we don't know how to make it so you can just join without us having to accept you.
We're
but
trying
we will
to.
always accept you.
You should
Like-
be able to open the page up, right? Or,
We did
it's
that,
public,
and then I
but
don't
still
know.
they have to request membership. But trust me, we'll let you in. Just ask. We will. We just don't know how to fix it.
okay. All right.
We're working on it. But so there's the name of this castle there's a castle in Texas. Of course, it's in Texas, called Shangri-Lama, and it's full of llamas. And
I was gathering that from the name of it.
Tell me more.
and I love this. It's a very short article, but there's so many pictures of llamas and stuff. Most of us can agree that llamas are some of the most adorable animals on Earth, and one North Texas farm provides an unparalleled opportunity to play with them. Shangri-Lama is a replica Irish castle with 7 members of its very own royal family. Classes, nature works, and birthday parties and other special events are just some of the activities offered. And the place looks awesome. I mean, the property is huge. It's literally a castle. In the
But
middle
the
of
llamas
Texas.
live in the rooms, or they're just on property?
I don't know. I mean, they look like they're everywhere.
2.5 hour llama walk around?
As you traverse the earthy gravel path, a knowledgeable tour guide will offer more than 50 interesting facts
50 facts. It's very specific.
You know he's got index cards.
about the quirky creatures. The activity is available from November until May for ages 8 and up. That's because the 7-year-old got bit last time. On weekends and one weekday during the summer and holidays, llama lessons are held.
A different weekday each time, though.
So weird. This 1-hour educational experience teaches you absolutely everything about llamas, including their differences from alpaca.
People care about that.
That's topical. It's topical.
It's relevant.
You gotta talk about
It's
what
very
people care
relevant.
about. It's like
Asking the real questions.
stupid alpacas always taking llamas fire.
Oh man, it's so great. It is so great that this place exists. And he got this from the same website where he found out about the what was it, like the sub sandwich ice cream sandwich thing that he found.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like a
Like
website
an
that
obscure
talks about,
Reddit subreddit?
No, it's only in your state, and it talks about all the random amazing things that you might have in your state that you have no clue about.
Yeah, and I had no clue that was in our state. I still want to go get one of those sub ice cream things. It's like a donut. Okay, so it's a sub sandwich, but it's a donut with ice cream in it instead of like any of that other stuff.
I mean, of all the things coming out of Florida, that's probably one of the most tame.
That's the healthiest thing that we've created.
That's true.
Is a donut ice cream sandwich.
I mean, the first time I had like one of the double Krispy Kreme bacon cheeseburgers,
Sure.
like that was my third heart attack.
Yeah, I mean you can feel your arteries clogging as you eat it.
Yeah, each heartbeat is painful.
Yeah,
after
it becomes like, oh, is this the one? No, I'm good.
I've been on a diet, and today was my cheat day. Me and my wife went on a date, and we were in Orlando, and I found
They
a
went to
place.
Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, Chuck E.
Jerky cheese.
No, we did not go to Chuck E. Cheese.
We went last week.
I found a
We're
gelato.
so sick of Chuck E. Cheese.
I got a 2-year-old.
I found a gelato place, and they had. Oh, I went so ham. It was a waffle, but instead of like waffle mix, it was brownie mix. So it was a brownie waffle with 3 scoops of gelato and ice cream drizzled with chocolate
You
sauce.
did go ham.
Monster.
And I ate the whole thing by myself.
Yeah, that is intense.
There's
so
cheat
good.
days, and then we just started at ground
like-
zero.
It's like,
I gained 10 pounds. I had lost 8, now I gained 10.
from one brownie waffle with gelato on it. I don't know how it happened.
But yeah.
I mean, it sounds great though.
So next time you're in Texas near Dallas, go to Shangri-Lama. They have some awesome
They have
birthday
llamas.
parties.
Do you really want to plug that? Like,
If you bring up alpacas though, they're gonna get upset. Just don't do it.
all right, Napoleon Dynamite was Tina an alpaca or a llama? Ooh, I don't
Okay,
know.
I don't remember.
get ready
I
to
don't
get
know.
triggered. Whoever gets triggered by that, it's a llama.
It's a llama.
You just made that up. You
I'm,
don't know.
I'm just picking one.
It's
I-
a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, it's like I guess
Is it a
two-
50-50 chance? It's either 100% right or 100% wrong.
Yeah,
Wait,
but that's
what?
50-50,
Isn't
right?
that-
It's either one or the other.
Yeah.
It's coin flip, llama. I'm leaning into it. I'm gonna just brave that new world.
Dang it,
Oh, you
Tito.
gotta Google it. You gotta Google it. I
Okay.
gotta
Oh,
Google it.
okay. We're gonna find out.
I'm
God.
sure
We're
you're
gonna
not
find out real
knowing.
quick. All right. It was Tina, right?
Tina, right? I think so.
Dang it, Tina.
Tina Napoleon Dynamite, llama or alpaca? Write it in the comments
Here we
section.
go.
Llama. Wait, no, it's a question.
Llama.
It's a llama.
Llama.
Whoa!
That's how you do it. You got to believe in yourself.
Just-
That's all it takes. You just blindly say things that you have no idea if they're
I
accurate.
want to thank Shangri-Lama.
I want to thank everybody.
I want to shake.
I want to thank the Academy for recognizing this achievement. I want to thank llamas everywhere and not alpacas. They can get out of here. And next, I discovered this week someone named Steed Bonnet. I'm assuming it's Bonnet because he's from England, but who knows?
Bonet.
That would, if it was French, I would have guessed that. I don't know. But
South
he
Carolina.
is an early 18th century Barbadian pirate. And he was a pirate that went up to New York. He went to the Carolinas. But here is the amazing part about this pirate. Let me tell you why he became a pirate. Bonnet was driven to piracy by Mary's nagging. And Mary is his wife. And discomforts he found in a married state. This man was born an English gentleman. He was raised well, wealthy, and literally got sick enough of his wife that he became a pirate. Most pirates, how do you think they get their ship? They go steal it. Not Bonnet. He
sold
went
his
and
wife.
bought a ship. He went to a shipwright and he's like, I want you to make me a sick ship with a bunch of cannons on it, everything. And just he's like, I'm out of here.
So you got any pirate
It didn't
ships?
raise any alarms that he wants, like, give me one of those skull and crossbones flags.
I bet he ordered the flag on Amazon. He's like, I need to at least
give me the
outsource
most
that.
piratey flag you got. Like,
He's like, don't worry about the flag. Just build me the boat, and I'm gonna go. And I am curious. Like, was he like, I'm gonna go on a trip. I'm just don't worry. I'm gonna just go out real quick.
So I just want to confirm, he started in the Carolinas, and he pirated all the way up to New York. Like, he didn't...
He
it's
bounced
like
around. So his initial cruise took him to the coast of Virginia, near Chesapeake Bay.
So he went like 30
He
miles
captured
from home
and
just
plundered
pillaged.
4 vessels. No, he's from England.
So he was pretty successful.
I
as
thought
a
you said
pirate.
that he was from South Carolina.
No, this is the places he pirated.
Oh, he went to South
So,
Carolina
okay.
from England.
He was uncomfortable enough in his situation that he bought a very nice boat
in England
in England
and brought it over.
and was like, I'm out of here. Crossed the ocean.
I mean, I've been uncomfortable in my marriage a few times, but I've never thought to
This is-
resort to piracy.
No, this is not.
I mean, I pirate movies all the time, so I mean,
uncomfortable is not an accurate word to describe. I'm gonna become a pirate.
like
Like,
quite literally
Yeah.
raping and pillaging.
and I can't confirm the raping, pillaging definitely. Like he went and he started Virginia. he went all up the East Coast. So that was kind of like a thing where there's ports all up the East Coast, so they would kind of just hit random places and they'd steal stuff.
Just the Yankee Rumble.
Yeah, and apparently at one point he got into the real stuff, and like people were upset about it, and
People didn't like him stealing their
they
stuff.
were not a fan of him attacking Boston. They weren't, and so he was attacked. They took his boat, they destroyed it, and they dismantled it for timber. Is the wording on this article, and the remains were then burned. So they took everything they could, then they burned the rest. He was shot and was seriously injured. And then he started working with Blackbeard.
I thought hold on. He was shot but not killed.
No,
So he got
was not
away.
killed. Yeah, he was alive.
Injured but got away.
Yes, and so he started working with Blackbeard while he was in Nassau, Bahamas.
Collaboration with Blackbeard. They make it sound like we're dropping an EP
Yeah, it's
this
like
summer. Me and Blackbeard.
2020! Blackbeard and Bonnet, let's go. But then he essentially, my favorite, like he ended up having like a bunch more pirating escapades.
I see this is like a 9,000.
Yeah, he was, I think, eventually executed. Yeah, he was.
Oh yeah, there's him
So
hanging.
yeah, he was hung at some point because of his pirating. But my favorite part about discovering this, and okay, I talked last week about Black Bart, or it was at some point I talked about it. What I looked into is there was a Reddit thread about gentlemen criminals. So they call him the gentleman pirate because he started out as a fancy English gentleman and literally got mad enough at his wife or just generally unhappy enough that he became a pirate and was literally executed for it.
Wait, but it says his wife, Mary Allenby, died 1714. Hold on. They were married in 1709, died 1714. He died 1718 at the age of 29 or 30. So that means he had a fight that ended in her death 6 years before he got executed.
Oh, yeah.
There's some like timeline issues that I'm trying to work through here.
Wait, no, he died in 1718 though.
4 years after she died.
Right, but what I'm saying is like, who knows how long he was a pirate?
Well, it says he was only active for a year and a half. Scroll down a little bit. Years active. 1717. So he was a pirate for all of like a year and a half, 3 years after his wife died. I'm not
No,
fact
I
checking.
mean,
I'm just
yeah,
gonna
no, I see what
Wikipedia
you're
with you.
saying. Like, I see what you're saying, but like,
I'm trying to get the timeline together.
maybe he was just okay. So maybe how they didn't word this correctly, and what it was like he wasn't a fan of his entire journey through marriage because his wife died, and he's like, I'm good.
That's one heck of a bender.
I'm
like,
gonna go out on the water, and became a pirate.
like a bachelor cruise.
Yeah, I mean that's a way to describe it. Just like, hey, I see what you have on that boat, give it to me, or you're getting shot. And just,
No, it's probably more like, howdy ho, boys. Please give me a ship.
I mean, I like that better, honestly.
Where does Boston come into this? Because
No, he's the gentleman pirate. I've got some tea over here.
look at his mustache though. Like seriously.
Yeah, look how fancy this man
He's got
is.
one of those like waxy pointed mustaches.
I'm a fancy boy.
Look how fancy he is.
My name's Steve.
His eyes
Bonnet.
don't point in the same
They
direction. though.
don't, but that's how you know a good pirate. He needs an eye patch.
He should have had an eye patch.
It's like, look,
That's a
now-
glass eye.
now
He's
too
it's
much of a
good pirate.
gentleman to
Yeah, now
to
it's a
put a
good
patch
pirate
in.
right there. Done.
I see. I can't.
Did you know why
I
they
can't
wore
make
the eye
that work.
patches?
What?
Did you know why they wore eye
I
patches?
do know this, but I'm not going to
night
ruin it
sight,
for
right?
you.
Yeah, for night vision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
Well,
thought
not
about
night
testing
vision,
it, but I'm too lazy, I guess, or I don't know.
They're like
Seems-
$3 at Walgreens if you really wanted an eye patch.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's true. It's not a whole lot of commitment to get into it. To get into trying to see if you have night vision because of an eye patch. I mean, you do have to commit to wearing an eye
But
patch.
how many times in life do you really want to like test that or need night
Or
vision?
when do I need night vision?
Hey, have
Never.
you ever stubbed a toe in the middle of the night?
I have.
Have
but
you ever stepped on a Lego on your way to the
having
bathroom?
an eye patch would not have helped me in any of those situations because it's so dark that neither of my eyes would work.
Have you ever tried it? Don't say that it wouldn't help.
It
You
might
don't know.
have.
You don't know.
It might
You don't
have.
know.
Who knows, really? There's no way to know except by doing.
All right. Oh, so it's my turn again.
Yeah, it's your
okay.
turn again.
I didn't know. I don't know the formula
No,
for
you're
this.
good. You're good.
So I discovered. I didn't quite discover it this week, but I discovered some of the videos from Gerald Houston, who is a viral comedian that I'm working with. we're getting ready to launch his merchandise line. It's going to go live like in the next day or two. So just a couple of designs that they came up with on their end. It's nothing from our inside creative. But this guy has a million followers on Instagram, 700,000 on Facebook. And what he does is he goes out and he pranks people. We could probably pull something up on YouTube to show one of his more popular videos. But he goes out and he just like pulls pranks on people, pretends that somebody is like a famous rapper or a famous movie star because they vaguely look like them. And this dude's hilarious. Like, it's all 15-second Instagram clips, and he's just gone completely bonkers. And he's getting deals with like some Hollywood movie studios, and he's making appearances on national TV and stuff like that. This guy's really lighting a fire under him. And because I've been working with his brother on completely unrelated stuff, they're ready to go and launch this thing. So we're gonna try out.
That's awesome.
A lot of our ideas and creative on him, but I discovered some of his videos because you hear about these people, but if they're not in like your circle of what you would normally watch, you're not paying attention to it. There's something to be
so
said
much
about
content
fame
being made out there, man.
in an area that you're interested in. It's like if somebody has 1 million followers and it's something that I care about, then it's like, oh my gosh, they got 1 million followers. But if it's like, oh yeah, they this is somebody that you know and they have 1 million followers, it's like, oh, maybe I should check their stuff out. It's just different.
Sure.
And that's kind of where this was. But yeah, some of his stuff is actually pretty funny. Did you see anything that was worth?
They're long. That's the main thing
I
I've
see.
seen.
Yeah,
So, like,
most of his stuff is like made up of a bunch of short clips.
okay, here's
but yeah.
what we're gonna do. We will, after the show, anybody in chat, we're gonna throw it in there, but it will be in the show notes for anybody listening.
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah,
Good.
we'll link his YouTube channel in the show notes.
Yeah,
we
for
have
sure.
very robust show notes. We have links to every single thing.
Nothing
we
is
talk
spelled
about.
correctly. I'm behind the scenes and I'm looking
No,
at
no,
it.
This is
I don't
not
make
show
the-
notes. No, this doesn't count. This does not count.
Okay, all right.
That's not our actual show notes. Things are spelled correctly because I do them. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with Kirk. I'm messing with Kirk.
No, there's been
No.
some show notes that weren't spelled correctly as well.
Oh no.
There's literally a spell check on it. So, but it's we'll include all of this so everybody can check it out, and everybody who's watching live, we will throw it in there once we're done here. For the final discovery of the week, it is the latest episode of the Creators Cove I did with somebody that literally Kurt got to see the song performed live at Mountain Holler and Friends. Her name is June Bustamante. She is from St. Pete. She is an incredible person. And if you want to hear more about her journey and her experience with like discovering what it was like to be semi-famous and have people recognize you and what that feels like, and the music making process, and just in general her creative process, I have a new episode of Creators Cove out and you can check it out. But in general, this song is called Goodness in Us. And as always, we have a discovery hotline. You can find it on our Facebook. You can find it on our Twitter.
It'll be in the show notes.
We're going to put it out there as many places as we can. If you discover something awesome this week, let us know what it is. Call in and we'll feature you on the show. We would love to have you tell us something awesome you discovered this week. Follow us on Spotify. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Get in touch however you can. We'd love to hear from you.
Watch the YouTube live stream,
Yeah.
because then you get to watch the shows way before we actually release them on Spotify or iTunes.
And be
You
a
get to
part
watch
of it
them
from the
live.
chat.
Yeah, you can be a part of it.
chat at us. Right now we're looking at Bagware just said, "What's up?"
Hey, Bagware.
Not much. We're recording, man, but we're glad you're here. We would love to have everybody be a part of what we're doing. And so join us.
And don't forget to buy the podcast Discovery merchandise that's going to be launching as soon as I
Yeah.
deliver it.
Keep
As
an
soon as I
eye
deliver
out.
it.
Yeah, I didn't want to put you on blast out here, but we're waiting on some T-shirts that our man here's been making, and
No,
so we're
but
excited.
They've been cooking.
No, but also keep an eye out for.
That means they're gonna be good.
Like, keep an eye out for. We're gonna be working with Richie going forward. We're friends. It makes sense. It's gonna be happening. We're gonna have some new merch coming. He makes great stuff. We're gonna be talking about what you can get through the neighborhood print shop. Keep an eye out. We have a lot of cool stuff coming. We want you guys to be a part of it. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy Goodness in Us by June Bustamante.
Bye. Like a pro.
Very nice. Very nice.
YouTube people, thank you so much for live streaming. Really appreciate it. We're going to keep trying to make this better all the time. We do this pretty much every week. And you guys are a step ahead of the curve. people won't be hearing what you just heard for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive to be 2 weeks ahead of what, like, y'all have a lot of listeners now, and growing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And for the 4 people that are in here to be that far ahead of the curve,
Do you know how exclusive you are right now?
you are 4 in 15,000, my friend.
it's really just, we wanted to try and build a community around just, if any of you guys watching right now have something cool you've discovered, get in touch with us and let us know. We'd love to talk to people about it. We'd love to have you join our Facebook group. Anything else, get in touch. We are moderately friendly people.
What?
What, you don't
I'm
like
really
you don't like
friendly.
moderately? We're very friendly people.
Borderline friendly people.
We're most of the time friendly people. I don't know, like we're never friendly people. I don't know what.
It's not getting better, but
It's
also
getting
not
worse.
It is going worse. I feel like we are the friendliest people you'll ever meet.
I'm a hugger.
Yeah, you see, Kirk will hug you over the internet. But yeah, thank you so much
It's
for
not
listening.
even legal in some states, but
Yeah, definitely not Utah.
I'll ask first. Can I hug you?
that's like
No.
that's vaguely Mr. Rogers, but also in an unacceptable way. Like,
No, I think it's more unacceptable if you're like,
right?
Can
Can I be your neighbor? Well, for
I
me.
mean, yeah, if you say it like a trucker, yeah, it
Hey,
immediately makes
can I
it
hug
worse.
you?
Oh,
What's that movie that I can't think of right now? Deliverance.
oh, Deliverance. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so
On
much
that
for
happy
streaming.
note.
Bye.
Brains
Thanks for
and
tuning in.
Brains and Empires.
Brains and empires.
No, I said brands. I just restarted. Brands and Empires.
Brands and Empires.
Podcast Discovery Show. Thank you so much.
That's all there is. Take care, guys.